Imagine you're flying over a desert in southern Peru. It's bone dry, totally barren, and then you look down and you see them. Hundreds of enormous, perfect figures carved right into the earth. A spider, a monkey, a hummingbird, all so huge you can only really see what they are from way up in the sky. These are the Nazca Lines, and they are, without a doubt, one of archaeology's greatest mysteries.
And this right here is one of the most incredible ones, the spider. It's drawn with a single unbroken line. Looking at this just begs the question, right? What in the world are these things? Who could have possibly made them? And the biggest question of all, why?
So to even begin to get our heads around this, let's start with what we actually know for sure. Let's lay out the facts about this amazing UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Okay, so here's the lowdown. We're in the Nazca Desert in Peru. And these weren't made overnight. They were created over a massive 1,000-year span by the Paracas and Nazca cultures. They're called geoglyphs, basically drawings made on the ground. But the scale is just mind-boggling. If you took all the lines and laid them end to end, they would stretch for over 800 miles. That's just staggering. Now, before they get to the why, and trust me, that's where it gets really interesting, let's talk about the how. You might be thinking it had to be some kind of lost, super complex technology. But the real story's actually a lot cooler, and it's all about simple human ingenuity.
The method they used was honestly brilliant. Archaeologists figure they started by making small models. Then they used simple tools like wooden stakes and rope to scale up the design on the desert floor. And for the final step, they just scraped away the top layer of dark reddish rocks to reveal the lighter colored dirt underneath. That's it. And that simple contrast is what we see today, perfectly preserved by the dry, windless climate. So you see, the real mystery isn't how they did it, it's why they went to all that trouble. And with that simple method, they created things on a truly epic scale. Some of the largest figures, like the condor, are 370 meters long. To put that in perspective, that's almost 4 football fields laid end to end, mapped out with incredible precision. Just wow. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Why would a culture spend so much time and energy creating these massive drawings that, from the ground, they could never see in their entirety? Well, there are a few leading theories, and they're just as fascinating as the lines themselves. All right, so the scientific community has a few big ideas. One of the first was that the lines are a giant astronomical calendar, pointing to where the sun and stars rise and set on important days. Another really powerful theory is that it's all about water. I mean, they're in a desert, right? So these figures could be sacred paths used in rituals to pray to the gods for rain and good crops. A third idea is that they were literally paths for religious processions, where people would walk the lines to strengthen their community. And of course, you knew this was coming. We can't talk about Nazca without talking about aliens. Yep, the idea that these were landing strips for extraterrestrial visitors got super popular back in the 60s. It's a fun thought, but science has a much better and, frankly, more impressive answer. An archaeologist named Joe Nickel actually went out there and put the idea to the test. He proved that a small team using only the simple tools the Nazca people had could recreate a huge figure in just a few days.
And they didn't just make a sloppy copy. Scientific American called their work remarkable in its exactness. So what's the big takeaway here? We don't need aliens to explain the Nazca Lines. All we need is the incredible skill, planning, and vision of the Nazca people themselves. Okay, so you might think case closed, but not so fast. Just when it seemed like we had it all figured out, modern technology came along and completely blew the mystery wide open all over again. It turns out there are secrets that have been hiding out there in plain sight for thousands of years. For almost a century, we've been fascinated by iconic figures like this monkey. We thought we had a pretty good idea of what was out there, but it turns out we were only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Check out how quickly things have changed. For decades, the number of known figures was pretty stable. Then the 21st century happened. Drones and satellite images started revealing new ones. And then came AI. In 2019, machine learning helped spot 143 new glyphs. And just in 2024, an absolutely staggering 303 more were found using AI. We are literally in a golden age of Nazca discovery. But here's the tough part. This incredible wave of discovery has a really somber flip side. Even as we're finding hundreds of new lines, the ones we've known about for decades are in serious danger. It's crazy to think that after 2,000 years of survival,
their future is suddenly so fragile.
So what's the problem? Well, the stable climate that protected them is changing. But the biggest and most immediate threat is us, people. Illegal mining scars the land, but some of the worst damage comes from something so simple: tire tracks. Back in 2018, one truck driver just veered off the road and plowed through several ancient figures, causing permanent damage in seconds. Seconds.
And when you look at the beautiful, delicate design of the hummingbird or the absolute majesty of the condor, you really get what's at stake. These aren't just scratches in the dirt. They're a direct link to how an ancient culture saw their world. They're masterpieces of art that belong to every single one of us. So we're left with this huge paradox. The same technologies, AI, drones, that are giving us this incredible new window into the past also remind us just how close the modern world is to destroying it. And that leaves us with a really critical question, not just for archaeologists, but for all of us. As our power to discover these wonders grows, will our will to protect them grow with it?